Good evening, everybody. Welcome to One Team Active, and this is our live cook-along tonight. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Anna. I'm a nutritional therapist, and I'm really delighted to be part of the One Team Active programme. So tonight we are going to cook together some vegetable stuffed spinach pancakes. So welcome to my little kitchen. I am not a trained chef. I'm a nutritional therapist, so I understand what different foods do within the body. But I cook for fun. I love cooking. I love experimenting and trying to get really colourful plates of food served up for me and my family. And so this is a veggie-based dish because, you know, it's really easy to get stuck in a rut Monday to Friday with cooking having your same staple dishes to do week in, week out. So sometimes it might be useful just to just get some different ideas from different sources and places and give things a try. And then they can become part of your regular menu. And if you don't particularly like the stuffing in this, then these are super versatile. They're really nutritious. The spinach in the pancake mix is not a strong flavour at all. My teenage son is not a spinach fan, but he will tolerate these and say they're not too bad actually. They said you really can't taste the spinach, so it's a great way of getting some green veg, so beneficial for our health, into a plate of food without people kind of trying to pick it out and that kind of thing. So they're also really easy to make in advance. So you could make a batch of the actual pancakes in advance. You can keep them in the fridge, and then you can just get them out, wrap them in whatever you want to wrap them in, take them to work, and you can heat them up really quickly in a microwave if you've got a facility at work. So again, with the time and preparation, you could plan in advance a little bit. So we're going to start by switching our oven onto 180 degrees, and this is going to be to roast our cauliflower. And talking of vegetables, and you know, the reputation of cauliflower is not always totally positive. It's quite easy to overcook it and boil it, and it's very mushy and that's a little bit bland. But I've discovered roasting it, and I'm a big fan because you can put a lot of extra flavour in with it. It makes it a little bit crispy, a bit more depth of flavour. And you can really experiment with the different spices or herbs or flavourings that you want to do with it. You could just do it with some olive oil and some salt. But here we're going to add in tonight some cumin and some coriander flavouring. Because spices, they're not just there for additional flavour. Spices are really powerful got really powerful plant chemicals in them, which can have amazing anti-inflammatory and antiviral and antibacterial properties. Some herbs and spices can be anti-cancer, really great for boosting the immune system. So some really brilliant properties that you get in herbs and spices. So really encourage you to add them wherever you can. They really kind of add a little nutritious punch to your food. Okay, so my oven is on. We're going to start by getting the cauliflower into the oven, because that takes about 20 minutes to roast that off. And we're going to use that in this recipe to stuff into our pancakes. We're going to have roasted cauliflower and some mushrooms and garlic in a creamy sauce. Again, if that's not your cup of tea, you can still have the creamy sauce if you want to. You could add in there, if people are really desperate to have some meat, then you could add in like a little bit of chicken, perhaps a little bit of bacon, just a little bit, but you could then use some peppers, some tomatoes maybe. You could do a tomato-based sauce for the stuffing as well. So yeah, I guess you kind of would see the pancakes like a kind of wrap. So anything that you would put into a wrap to fill a wrap with a fajita or you know, taco wraps, anything like that, you can just do the same with these. So I'm going to chop my cauliflower over here and get that into the oven. I'm just going to chop this into a floret so that they're easy to pop into the wraps, into the pancakes once we've made those. And while you're doing this, you could actually do some extra cauliflower. And once that's roasted, you could just keep that in your fridge. And with the spices and the salt and the olive oil on it, it's a really tasty little side to add to perhaps a salad for tomorrow for lunch, or heat it up to have as an accompaniment tomorrow night with tomorrow night's dinner. So whilst you've got the oven on, so I'm basically going to just kind of roast pretty much the whole cauliflower, but I won't need all of that tonight, just for the 3 of us here. So there'll be some left over for tomorrow. Okay. Okay, so I've got that onto my roasting tray right here. I'm going to just put a drizzle of olive oil over that. Olive oil is my oil of choice for cooking. Some seed oils, like your sunflower seed oil and various different vegetable oils, they can change their chemical structure when they're heated high, and some of the effects of that is not so helpful on the body. So I would opt for extra virgin olive oil where you can cooking. And then I'm just going to put some salt over that. And I've got my dried cumin, give a little shake over that too. Some dried coriander. And then I'm just going to do a final little bit of oil over that so nothing burns. Get all that coated nicely in the spices. It's going to smell amazing when that's cooking. Yeah. I'm going to chop one of those in half. It's a bit big. Okay, and that is going into the oven to roast. Set my timer there for 20 minutes. Okay, so now we can come on to the pancake mix. So I have got a bullet here, just a high-speed blender here to whiz up my pancake mix. Here, with this that goes on the top like a smoothie maker type thing. You don't have to go out and buy one of these at all to make this. It just means that it blends the spinach really nicely into it. So there's not all lots of little bits, but you could use a food processor. If you have neither of those, you could just chop the spinach really finely by hand. Okay, so I've got spinach over here, which I've given a good wash. Because bags of spinach sometimes can get a little bit of grit inside there, or sometimes the odd little bug. So giving that a really good wash. But you could also use frozen bags of spinach. They're quite economical in the freezer section. And I'd have just got out enough frozen blocks of the spinach to defrost prior to this, so a couple of hours ago, to make that nice and soft, and then just to squeeze that out a little bit so there's not too much moisture in the frozen version. Right, I'm going to put this into my blender. And this is 4 cups worth. Oh, I'll tell you about the cups. Yeah, so with my measures, so cups is a bit of an American thing, and I did avoid them for quite a long time because I didn't really understand what a cup size was. But these little cups are very cool because this is 1 cup size, and then I've got half a cup, third of a cup, quarter of a cup. And this was a pretty cheap purchase on Amazon. And so now when it comes to just needing a cup full of flour, you can just scoop that and pop it straight into whatever you're making. So there's no need for scales and measuring and everything else. So I'm quite a convert to cups. Right, so we've got the 4 cups of spinach going in here. I washed a little bit extra, but I'm just going to leave it about. So you can push it down, but you don't want it to be too strong flavour initially, particularly if you're just doing this for the first time. So I've got my spinach leaves in there. And then we're going to add a cup of milk. A cup of milk. And do this over the sink so don't spill. Okay. Then you're going to go in with 2 eggs. There we go. And then 1 cup of plain flour. Flour. There we go. So now I'm just going to whizzle this up. It's going to be a bit noisy for a second while I just plug this in and whiz all the up. There we go. There's our pancake mix. Beautiful green. So I use this most days making a smoothie. And happily sort of share some smoothie recipes. I think you've already seen some on the website as well. And smoothies can be fantastic for if you're really busy or if you want to take a snack to work, particularly on a night shift, if you want something to keep you going during the night. It's not the same as a juicer where you're just having that high close just with the juice where there's a bit of caution there with blood sugar spiking with just fruit in a smoothie, particularly if it's just the juice. But in a smoothie, I would always suggest that you kind of sort of combine a sort of protein as well in your smoothies. So that would be like maybe some nut butter, peanut butter, almond butter, maybe some yogurt or some seeds. And that really helps with balancing out the blood sugar, because if you're going to drink this quite quickly, even with the skins from the fruit, it is going to spike your blood sugar a little bit quicker than actually eating the fruit, where you eat it a bit more slowly, so you process it more slowly. But yeah, we use this probably most days to go with, perhaps just something to go with breakfast, or just to have a quick smoothie before we go off to work. So I've got a question here from Catherine. Does it matter if you use skimmed or full fat milk? Doesn't matter at all. Maybe semi-skimmed or full fat milk is a good one. This is semi-skimmed. With the skimmed milk, again, they might be a little bit thinner possibly, but also with skimmed milk, it means because you've taken the fat out of the milk, if it's purely skimmed, then the lactose, which is a kind of sugar that you get in milk, again, that can cause a bit of a blood sugar spike. So having a bit of fat in your milk isn't always a bad thing, unless you've got some kind of dietary need. But semi-skimmed or full fat milk does actually fill you up a lot more, obviously, than skimmed milk, but could keep you fuller for longer and might help you manage your appetite and stop some later cravings, possibly, because you'll feel a bit full. Right, so we're going to do the first pancake. So switch on my hob. Okay, that's up quite high. It's on number 8 out of 9. So you want it quite high. We want to get the pan nice and hot before we put the first pancake in. I'm just going to put a little drizzle of olive oil in there. And once I can see that starting to spit a little bit, then we'll know that's up to temperature to start going. Right, little ladle here for my portion sizes. I know that one of these ladles is about right for one pancake in my frying pan here. And then I've got a plate to stack the pancakes onto initially before I'm going to transfer them. So you can just make a stack of pancakes and stuff them as you go and serve them straight away and eat them if you want to. But because we're going to eat a little bit later, I'm going to put them into here. And I'm going to put half a pancake there, stuff it and roll it over. And I'm going to stack them all up in here. And then at the end, I'm going to grate some Parmesan cheese over the top and just pop it in the oven for 10 minutes to reheat it, to make it all lovely and hot for everybody. Starting to heat up, it's quite up to temperature yet. So whilst that's heating up, we could chop a bit of garlic, ready to do the garlic and the mushroom filling that's going to go with the cauliflower. So I've got a couple of cloves of garlic here. I'm just going to chop these up. again, garlic is one of the really, really powerful vegetables in terms of nutrition content. It can really help with supporting your immune system. It can be really good to promote your gut health as well. So getting into the habit of having garlic in lots of your meals as a base with your, your chopped onions and so on as a base for various dishes is really brilliant. Those eggshells. Okay. I think this is probably about ready for the first one. Quite often you need one sacrificial pancake when you're making a batch of pancakes. First one's not generally the best, but yeah, I haven't found a solution for that yet. So let's have a go. So we've got 1 ladle full of mix. Yeah, got a nice little sizzle there. So I'm just going to get that around the pan. It's not too thick. And then the key is to just kind of leave it for a little bit, not just play around and poke it too much, because that's when it's going to start sticking and falling apart. So on the back here, I'm going to start just first of all, actually, I'm going to start slicing the mushrooms to get them ready as well. Then we can start just getting those cooked up ready. So I've washed my mushrooms over here. I'm going to slice these up whilst that pancake's cooking. Right, these are quite big, so I think I've got enough there to cook 4 for the 3 of us. So let's see how the pancake's doing. Yeah, that's coming on really nicely, so I think it's ready to flip. First one always sticks a little bit. Well, I played with it a little bit too soon. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm going to flip that over. And while that's going, I'm going to put my back hob on and start getting the mushrooms and the garlic cooked up. I'm doing them on a sort of medium heat, not too high, because the garlic can burn really easily. So I'll get the mushrooms in first, and then after a couple of minutes, I'll then add the garlic. It's going to start smelling delicious. I can smell my roasted cauliflower already. How long's that had? Okay, that's had just over 10 minutes. I'm actually going to just take that out and just give it a little bit of a shake. Just make sure that everything's really covered in a little bit of oil and a bit of spice and a bit of salt. It smells so good. Okay, pop it in. Okay, first pancake is ready. So we can get this one out. I'm just going to keep that on the plate here. Just going to add a tiny bit more oil. There now. And then going with a second ladleful. Get my mushrooms in the back brick. So there we go. First lovely green pancake. Delicious. Mmm. Mm. Yeah, so it's the second one round. Just almost done straight away. Now that we're up to temperature. So that's hardly take any time at all. So we're going to whiz through getting these cooked now. So with the cauliflower, also what I could do if I've got some extra, I've got some left over, is have it either hot or even cold. You can just make a really lovely like dip just with some natural yogurt, some like chipotle sauce, like a smoky chili paprika-y type paste. You can just add that in with some natural yogurt, and that makes a really delicious dip. And that with some of the roasted cauliflower with those spices on it. Yeah, I think that's delicious. Sometimes I guess it takes a little bit of time to get used to these new flavors if it's completely new food to you. But trust me, before long, it starts to feel quite normal. And these new foods can become a really regular part of your diet, and just all full of really nourishing, healthy foods. One ready? Don't need much oil now because it's up to temperature, so we just need to make sure they don't burn because they're cooking really quickly. There we got our third one in. Yeah. And cooking's not your thing. If you're not a regular cook, then maybe just try and make your cooking environment as enjoyable as possible if you can. So just thinking about putting on some really lovely tunes. This is often my time of the night where I'm on my own in the kitchen, the kids are upstairs doing a bit of homework, or who am I kidding? They're scrolling on their phones, aren't they? Somewhere. That's sticking, so I'm just going to give that a bit more oil. Yeah, so sort of like stick on Sarah Cox and her Woucher hour. Right. BBC Radio 2, just try and make it a bit of relaxing time. And once you start and get into it and start creating, I find it can start to switch off and relax a little bit. Sometimes it's just the thought of it that's really hard to get yourself going. And the thought of all that chopping and preparation. So maybe you can encourage somebody to give you a bit of a hand sometimes, so you have a night or two off. But yeah, I think it is worth accepting that really healthy food preparation does take a bit of time. There's the third pancake all done. And so just accepting that and making a bit of peace with that it's not going to just take 5 minutes to conjure up a really healthy plate of food, and allowing time and creating that time in my weekly schedule, planning ahead, what can I prepare in advance, is quite a game changer to healthy eating, and there's not really a way to avoid doing that. So really encourage some advanced meal planning. I'll talk about that more in the webinar in 2 weeks' time, not next week because that half term certainly is here. But the week after, there's another webinar about shift work, nutrition, and what to eat on a night shift, particularly. And we talk a lot then about meal planning and how that can really impact what you eat during the week, positively impact. So everything's going nicely now. Some good smells coming out here. Right, mushrooms are almost done. So I'm going to add in my garlic. If you wanted to there, you could just fry for like a little tiny bit of bacon if you want to, just to give that meaty, smoky flavour if people really like that, and don't want to go fully veggie with this dish. I could have added a little bit of chicken in there. I could just chop up a little bit of really good quality sausages from the butcher. So I know there's not lots of nasties and water gone into those. Lots of processing. So lots of different ways of making this a bit more versatile if you want to. That doesn't need a lot more cooking because that is really hot. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of salt and pepper to my mushrooms and garlic, a bit of flavouring. 1.5 minutes left on the cauliflower. That's good. So I'm only just adding a little drop of that just to coat it each time. There's not much going in there, the oil. I think this is 5, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, this is number 5. A little bit left over, so after my 6th one. So yep, this is going to nicely make 6. We're almost there. Right, mushrooms are coming off the heat. Move my roasting dish out of the way for a minute. And then to my mushroom mix, I'm going to add a couple of spoonfuls of sour cream. And this is a little bit of a treat. It is lower fat than cooking with double cream. But it's going to be lovely and filling. I certainly won't be snacking tonight after this. It's going to be really filling. So now and again I would do a creamy sauce instead of a tomato-based sauce. So a bit of lovely flavour. We've got lots of vegetables going on in here too, so we're all good. Okay, cauliflower is ready. That's coming out of the oven. It's perfect, lovely and crispy. Okay, so I've turned the heat off on the mushrooms. I've added the cream, so it's just going to heat through a little bit, but the heat's off on there. But that smells so good. Mushrooms, garlic, salt, pepper, a little bit of sour cream. And then my final pancake. Then we've got all 6 done. That's taken us, okay, we're on 27 minutes. That's taken us 27 minutes so far. So. Last one. Okay, so while that's cooking, we can start a little bit of compilation. I get my roasting dish. Yeah, a little bit of a juggle here now in my space. Okay, so basically I'm going to get a pancake and I'm going to put it into my roasting dish like this. I'm going to put some tongs out actually. I'm going to put a couple of bits of my cauliflower into the pancake like this. And then I'm going to put that one. My stick one, for whoever likes some a bit thicker. Oh, messed up the last one. So I'm going to put some of the mushrooms and the cream and the garlic on top of the cauliflower. And then I'm just going to wrap that up. It will sort of sit like this. And then I'm going to put the next one in. Do the same with that. So a little bit of cauli. Sorry, you can't see this on camera. You see it? Here we go. Go. And then I'm going to roll that one up. So basically I'm just going to stack these until I've got them all wedged in there nicely. And then I'm simply going to grate a load of Parmesan cheese all over the top, and I'm just going to put that in the oven for 10 minutes once we're ready. And that is it. That is that done. So, and that's at 180 in my oven, just 10 minutes max. If they've been sitting around and they've all got really cold, then I'll do it for a little bit longer, but 10 minutes max. And then to serve that up, I'm going to just use I made some coleslaw earlier. I'm going to make a little bit more. So in my food processor, I've got a setting where it kind of grates. And so I've just got carrot and a white cabbage, probably two of the cheapest vegetables you can get, but really nutritious, particularly white cabbage, part of the cruciferous vegetable family, great for gut health, really great for energy as well. So grate those into a bowl. I could add some slices of radish when they're in season, if you like a little bit punchy. I could do a bit of apple. And then I could either mix that in with some half mayonnaise and half natural yogurt to get some beneficial yogurt in there as well to make a dressing. You could just have it like that. If you want to, you can add a little bit of lemon juice. Personally, I'm not going to go in for the mayo and the natural yogurt today. I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil and a bit of balsamic over mine. So you could just have like a really nice little light dressing, or just have it as it is on the side. You could maybe put a few slices of tomatoes there, a little salad, whatever you like really. If you're really, really hungry, then you could maybe do some potato wedges on the side if you want to, and so on. But I don't think it's necessary. I think you're going to find these really quite filling with the pancake mix and the cauliflower, which is quite a filling vegetable. And that's it really. So that's going to be your plate of wonderful green pancakes. Love to hear what you think and how you get on and what everyone makes of it. Hopefully not too many noses turned up. Hopefully people are willing to experiment and try. But like I said, try with other veg that people like, maybe even to start with. Chopped peppers, you can get some sweet corn, whatever you like, whatever you would put into like a fajita mix, you could give a try. And yeah, enjoy. So thanks everyone who's joined and who's going to watch this back later. Do share in the comments, send photos if you can, that'd be fantastic. But I look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time with another live webinar for half an hour on what, when and how to eat as a shift worker, particularly looking at what to eat on a night shift. And then the week after that, we will have another little cook along. So I will delve out another healthy, nutritious, brightly coloured recipe for you to try. Okay, thanks so much for joining. Have a lovely evening. Take care. Bye.